I'm retired Judge Vonda Evans, owner of Vonda's Law.
And I am attorney Carla Marable, a practicing criminal defense attorney in the state of Michigan.
And together, we are the Legal Divas of Michigan.
Hi, this is Vonda Evans.
And I am attorney Carla Marable, a practicing criminal defense attorney in Michigan, Ohio, and Texas.
And we are the Legal Divas of Michigan. So, Carla, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Vonda Evans. I'm a retired judge, and now I'm practicing attorney, owner of Vonda's Law. Tell us something about yourself, Carla.
I'm a practicing attorney. I practice in Michigan, Ohio, and Texas. I've been doing it for 25 years.
All right, so you're just new to the game. So listen, we're going to dive right into it. Let's talk about the Diddy trial. But before we do that, I want many of the people who are in Michigan, you just did a recent trial. I mean, you had a recent hearing, is that correct?
Yes.
And what was that case about?
Well, my client was accused of shooting autistic young man.
Okay, and you were able to get those charges thrown out, is that my understanding?
I was able to get those charges thrown out in full. Misidentification.
Okay, very good. And so you're not new to serious assaulted allegation crimes, is that correct?
I'm done.
Okay, very good. So let's talk a little bit about the Diddy trial. He's charged federally with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and interstate transportation for prostitution. Now, the racketeering conspiracy, he can get up to life. The sex trafficking, 15 years, the interstate transportation for prostitution up to 10. Now, everybody has heard, what is RICO? Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization Act. And what is that? Basically, it's a way that in the 60s, in the late 70s, early 70s, you had mob bosses that were directing their underlings to commit a crime. The FBI was getting the underlings, but nobody could ever get the big bosses because they weren't ever around, or there was no way of pulling them down. And many of the underlings, you just didn't tell them. So what they did was they came up with a legal theory, which that's really what the law is. There's so many legal theories, aiding, abetting, other legal theories, in a way to bring in, to throw a net over people. So they came up with the Racketeering Influence Corruption Act. And what they said is that for you to have racketeering, you got to have, in this case, we've got drug trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice. Any two of those. Now, in the state case, if you have a case, the prosecution has to prove every element, not 2 out of 4, not 3 out of 4, but 4 out of 4, okay? But here, they just have to show what we call 2 predicate felonies. Now, for the sex trafficking, that is human trafficking involving exploitation of individuals for commercial sex through force, fraud, and coercion. Force, fraud, and coercion. Well, part of the Racketeering Act, you have what's known as your enterprise, which are your employees, security, household, personal assistants, and assistants. Now, conspiracy. What is conspiracy? Conspiracy traditionally is an agreement of 2 or more people to do something illegal, okay? So check this out. You can have a conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Someone says they're going to kill someone, and that person don't even have to die, and that person can be charged. Why? Because it is the act, the coming together of those 2 or more parties to fulfill this illegal crime, okay? So therefore, conspiracy, is more of a theory. So what they've done in this Diddy trial is say, not that you got to do racketeering yourself, but conspiracy. But we've been talking about this. We talk about this a lot. And Carla was very frequent in my courtroom as an attorney, and she was extremely successful, won 90% of her trials, if not all of them. And why is it that you believe that they have a jury opposed to a judge trial with these legal hard theories? Wouldn't a judge know better? Why a jury?
Oh, they have a jury because jury are everyday people.
Okay.
And they want to
confuse. Okay. No,
well,
but go ahead.
I think you always want a jury because it's 12 of them. These allegations are just absolutely horrible. But you want a jury because a jury is going to relate to some of the arguments. Like one of the arguments that the defense is making is she consented.
Now listen, wait a minute, Carla. Consent to getting kicked, consent to getting beat, consent to having multiple sex partners. Consent.
Have you seen those text messages?
No.
She said that she liked them. She set the freak off together.
Now one of the things we have that's the government is alleging is what's called the enterprise, that these employees set it up, they cleaned up the room, they supplied the lubricant, they paid the individuals. You're saying that these text messages say she set them up. Is that correct?
That is what the text messages say. She set it up. The text messages say she enjoyed some of the freak offs. Even after she was allegedly raped, she called him by Diddy. She says that she was raped by Diddy. She calls him and has consent sex with him. So I think that they want a jury because a jury is able to relate to Diddy better than a judge would. Now, because they're going to tell, the defense is trying to tell a story. It's who can tell the better story. And what the defense is telling is, this is not an enterprise or racketeering. This is a bad relationship. And he did bad things, she did bad things.
Some freaky deacons.
That's what
some freaky deacons, baby.
So I think that if the jury is able to follow the defense story and they're able to get the defense, he's gonna
what would you do? Now we discussed this. The female, traditionally you gotta have women cross-examine complaining witnesses, the ladies, you just do. What do you believe could have been done differently or in a different way that you think would be a little bit more effective?
Well, I think they using her text messages wonderful. They went back for 12 years with the text messages. She makes very inconsistent statements, and I don't think that the defense attorney is bringing that out, that many of her statements were very inconsistent, and I would really home in on that. Also, Cassie's getting a big payoff. You know.
Let me say this to you. I gotta let you guys know. Oh, Carla, I remember you had done a trial in my courtroom. You went so hard on this witness. I had to object, okay? Because the prosecutor couldn't handle you. I mean, when you go in, you read everything, don't you?
You read everything. You know everything that happened, every allegation. You have to know. This is somebody's life, somebody's freedom and liberty.
Okay, you had a big case as well. And very salacious, dealing with something. You were able, which I couldn't believe it. Every time I talked to you, you were doing something with this case. And you were able to uncover that there can be apps that can be used, technology that can be able, that people can come forward with and say XYZ, and it don't even be like that. Technology is something.
Technology is everything. You know, now basically the phone towers. One of the things is every text message should line up with a phone tower.
Okay.
Because what did she say in her statement? Where was she at? You know, so
and those were inconsistencies that you found. And then you even went further to even find that this had occurred with her somewhere else. So the point of it is you, I mean, when you get on it, you are a vicious, you advocate for your client. I know that in this day and age, that's got to be expensive. But do you try to work with your clients?
Oh, definitely. I got into this to help people, and that's what I'm all about, helping people. So I do payment arrangements, and I try to be reasonable.
Now, one of the things that we talked about that we brought up, having the kids there, is that a good thing?
I think that's horrible. I think the defense made a mistake with that, because one of the things that you have to look at the age of the jury. The jury are in their late 40s, 50s, to 60s, right? The first thing they're going to say is, you're hearing things that kids should not hear. Those girls are still in high school. So that's something.
His daughters?
Yeah, his daughters are still in high school. And then he has one daughter, I think she's in her first year of college.
Well, let me ask this question.
They should not have them there in the courtroom.
I'm going to ask this question. Do you think, and I used to tell the judges of the facts, that's what I call juries, judges of the facts, pay attention to the evidence only. But many times they're looking at the family, how they dressing. If they got that bling, they got them big Chanel bags. They're looking at how he's dressed, which is really low key. But many times they're looking at things that don't have anything to do with the evidence. Do you find that in your practice?
Most certainly. People look at how you dress. People make stereotypes and judgment about how you dress, how you wear your hair. I mean, yes, that's why his attorneys have him, because if you follow Diddy, he's over the top with designer clothes. He has a white shirt on and a sweater. Very laid back. And
so I laugh at you. You said the best dressed person at your table gotta be you.
It gotta be me.
And so you talk to your defendants, whether they're men or women, about their type.
Yes, you want to, look professional, but laid back.
Okay, very good, and that's important, and you do that in your practice.
That's very important.
Now,
and the family should look.
Now, what about the salaciousness, the Astroglide, the baby oils? Do you believe that that's just fluff? What is your opinion? So you're basically saying you don't believe there's sex trafficking with Cassie?
It cannot be sex trafficking with Cassie because she consented. Have you read the text messages?
Oh well, okay, all right.
She enjoyed it. She set them up.
But she said she'd give away back everything if the freak-offs didn't occur.
If that was true, then why she sued?
Okay. And do you think that's something that you would have discussed a little bit more?
Oh, definitely. Because she has a motive to bring this case. She has a motive to win this case. She got $30 million altogether. She got $20 million from him and $10 million from Intercontinental. Okay.
And the thing that is very important is that you have an attorney that's willing to go there to tell a story. One of the things that I look at, and I remember when Carla would come to my court, Judge, I want to do voir dire. What's voir dire? It's when you ask the judges of the facts, that's what I call them, questions about their ability to listen and different things. Do you believe that during jury selection, that an attorney potentially can win a jury trial just from selection because they like the way that the attorney asks questions?
I believe that most trials are won or lost in jury selection. You have to get people that the thing about jury selection, you're asking them questions. So you're trying to get inside their mind, how they think, what are their issues. So you want people that's going to think like your client, going to feel that your client behavior was justified or they can understand it. In Diddy's case, the defense wants juries that's going to say, well, she participated in it, she's getting paid, she has a motive. So jury selection is very important. I would also say probably the most important part of the trial.
And you know what? Let me just say this to you. One of the things that I commend you about, you ain't afraid to go to jury trial. Just the jury trial queen over here. Listen, you say, give me 12. Somebody said, well, what's the offer? She not guilty. Give me 12 any day. So why juries? You like juries.
I like jury. I love jury.
I don't think that, I mean, there was nothing between us that was, you know, you respecting that respect, but you never did a bench trial, ever. You do juries. Why?
Because I like juries. Because if I can tell the story persuasive, right, and I just need one person on that jury to fight for me, then I'm going to get a not guilty or I'm going to get a hung. And if I get a hung, I can come back and correct what went wrong the first time.
Okay. So you don't run from the fire, you run to it, to put it out.
Right.
That's
and
right.
Then, you know, like trials with judges are looking at the law.
So they're saying, you know, I'm looking at the elements.
They're looking at the elements.
And do you think that maybe what the government really is trying to do is that they're trying to appeal to this sense of passion, emotion from the jurors to say, this is so terrible that anybody who's alleged to have done this, these are the elements, and so you just find them guilty. What would you do as the attorney to say, hey, hold on for a minute. We understand there's some freaky deep going on, but let's look at the elements. The elements of the charge, they have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. All of them, except for the racketeering, that's 2 predicate felonies, but with the sex trafficking, human trafficking involving exploitation of individuals for commercial sex through force, fraud, or coercion. You're saying it's consent. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying it's consent, and I also don't see where the commercial sex is. You have a man and a woman who were in a relationship.
With the sex workers, when they were being paid. Do you believe that she wanted them to come?
She called them.
Now, part of the indictment says that the enterprise were employees, security, household people. They called the hotel, they supplied it with lubricant, they cleaned it up, they gave him large sums of money, and then there was some drugs that were involved. They provided that as well. You're saying that she was the one that did that?
She consented to it, but also one of the other things I'm saying is that he's only there by himself. With enterprise, don't you have to have more than one person? Why is he the only one that was indicted?
So, Kyle, you know, listen.
He's the only one indicted.
You know, all of them lawyered up and they got immunity. Okay? Listen, they got immunity probably. They probably got immunity. And they're probably saying, don't charge me if I testify for him, which they call use immunity. And they all probably ran to the government, say, give us a deal and we'll do what you want. But you don't think that that's a good witness, somebody that may be shown to have gotten immunity?
They have a motive to lie. They're not being prosecuted. They have a motive to lie and they got paid. What more motive can you have?
So you're saying that you believe that you would tell your jury to not believe the assistants, the cook, all of these people. You think that these are people, if they did take immunity, which we don't know, which may come out, but you believe that there is a motive for them to lie?
They don't want to go to jail. And the government, when the feds come after you, is overwhelming pressure.
But what about, let's talk about the bribery. Okay, when they're alleging that happened at the Intercontinental, when the security person, went up there and he alleged that Diddy said that there was large sums of money that he was going to give him to make this go away. What do you think about the bribery? Hasn't that been established? What's your position on that?
So I looked at the testimony of the security. So you mean tell me that this woman was beat up, and she was beat up. You don't make a police report. You don't put it in your internal report that he tried to bribe you. Then 10 years later, you all of a sudden remember it. I think that what Diddy did was wrong and it was disgusting, but the government has not proven their case. That particular officer, the reason why he's not credible to me is he didn't make a police report. And if he's a real law enforcement officer, shouldn't he have made a police report? He doesn't put it in his internal report.
He didn't put what in his internal report? I'm sorry.
That Diddy tried to bribe him.
So that's missing.
That's missing.
So he's just recalling that
from 10 years ago.
Okay.
Can you remember what you did 10 years ago?
Okay.
I don't think a lot of people can.
Okay, well, it was 8,
okay.
2016, but you're still saying that was not in his report.
That was not in his report. So he loses credibility with me.
Okay.
And I think
what do you think that his motive would have been now that he do to say that this is something that happened? You don't think that his, what they call is refreshing your recollection. Like you forget something and somebody may play a jam and you say, oh yeah, I remember that. So you don't think that his recollection was refreshed, or do you think that he's just doing it for the publicity or to be sensational? What do you think?
Well, I think that would cause me to speculate, and in court you can't speculate.
That's right.
You need facts. But I think that his credibility is shaken
irrespective,
because wouldn't you make a police report? Wouldn't you put it in your internal report? Why are you just bringing it up now? You never said anything. So he's not credible to me.
Okay, very good. So these are things that you believe that if you were on Diddy's team, that you would be able to bring out. Let me ask you a question. You're a woman. Do you feel that you would feel funny asking a woman these kinds of questions?
I know, because I have to protect my client.
Okay.
If I'm your attorney, I'm going to ask those kind of questions.
Okay.
Because I want my client liberty. I'm fighting for my client freedom.
So irrespective that there's a woman that obviously, I don't think that there's an issue. I think we can say beyond any doubt, she was beat up.
Yeah.
We know that. And mistreated. But at the same time, you still would be willing to go into her about asking those things.
Cassie wanted that lifestyle. Cassie liked that money and she liked the lifestyle. And that's what she paid for.
And so you feel that she wanted that lifestyle by any means necessary?
She wanted that lifestyle by any means necessary. And she paid the price for it. And now that she can't have that lifestyle, she wants him to pay for her lifestyle. That's how I'm looking at it from a defense point of view.
Hey, as my aunt would say, 6 1/2 dozen. If you're not paying me directly, you're going to pay me incidentally, but I'm going to get that money. So, Attorney Marable, if someone is charged with a rape, robbery, something like that, how do they get in touch with you?
You can call me. My number is area code 313-399-6284.
And you can also call me at 1-833 Bonda's Law. So at this point, despite all the salaciousness, everything we've seen, do you think that the government is winning or the defense is holding their own and holding the government to the fire and say, prove each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt? Who do you think is winning at this point?
It's very early in the trial because it's only day 7. I think that they have not met their burden. And remember, in any criminal trial, even on the feds level, they have to prove their burden beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is a fair and honest doubt coming out of evidence or lack of evidence.
You know that instruction.
I know that instruction.
Okay, that's the instruction. Okay. 25 years of practicing.
25 years.
Not only in Michigan, Ohio, Texas, and Georgia. Is that my understanding as well?
That's your understanding. And I think that they just haven't met their element. Not to say that they won't, because they have 2 more weeks. But as of now, I think Cassie was not the witness that they thought she was going to be.
Meaning? Because
those text messages killed her. In those text messages, she said that she enjoyed it. She set it up. She wasn't upset. And even when there's allegations that he raped her, she even admitted that after he raped her, allegedly, they had consensual sex.
After that, okay.
Yeah, who does?
But what about grooming? I mean, she was 19, he's 37. You know, he's providing all of these wonderful things for her. Was it grooming involved? Do you think that maybe overcame her will by providing her with the luxuries of life and then saying, I'll take him back if you don't do that, and that she felt compelled to do it, not coerced, because that's a term of art, but maybe compelled. And I believe that there is a psychologist that wants to testify about grooming and how it comes about. But do you think that was this, or do you think that she was a grown adult woman, made her own decision?
I think she was a grown adult woman who made her own decision. She got into that lifestyle, the money, the fame. And she even talked about it, that she wanted a career. She wanted to be a Beyonce or Sierra, but really she didn't have the talent, and she wanted that, and she stayed in that for that.
Male jurors, good idea, bad?
To me, they're excellent. They will. So in this particular jury, it's 8 and 5. I think that the male jurors will look at everything from a perspective that is just very, they won't get into all of the emotions of it, because this is a very emotional case. I think they would look at it and they would read those text messages and her testimony and see that she consented to a lot of that.
And you believe that if you were a part of that team, that those are the things that you would definitely say we need to pay more attention to.
Oh, yeah. Because your phone is like a walking, talking diary. Almost everything that you do, you text or you call or this and that. No. So her text messages really, I think, hurt her. I think they really hurt her. She talked about how she was jealous of Kim Porter and, she did things. I think the defense is doing good.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to come back with more Legal Diva of Michigan. We want to talk about trials. We want to talk about local, national, so that you get an understanding of the legal perspective. And when you hear different words like racketeering and sex trafficking and enterprise, you kind of get a better understanding. Well, that's all for now. So we're the Legal Divas of Michigan signing off. Carla,
Rhonda.
See you later. Legal Divas of Michigan. Have a great evening.
Bye. God bless.
Hi, I'm Vonda of Vonda's Law, and for 22 years I was a judge right here at the Wayne County 3rd Circuit Court. I just flipped the script. Can't nobody else do this. Now I'm in private practice. If you've been seriously injured in a car accident, charged with a crime, convicted of a crime, going through a divorce, or denied an insurance claim, we can help. Let my aggressive team of affiliate attorneys fight for you. Vonda's Law, we do it all. A name you know and trust. I just flipped the script. Can't nobody else do this.